What's going on, everyone? How is everybody doing this weekend? It's your friendly neighborhood gamer, PTK Blam, back with the Shop Podcast, episode 241. How is everybody feeling, man? We got some people already filing in chat. Shout out to chat, man. Always live, always having fun. Now, as you can see, no guests this week. This is actually a rare occurrence. You don't get this very often on the Shop Podcast where you just get the OG trio here just doing a full show. So you guys, it's a special week. Well, we'll have some guests next week for sure, but this week we're going homegrown for sure. But always glad to see everybody in the chat. Got Toolman, got Shonsu, Mod of the Year. Appreciate everybody's support. Hit the like button, subscribe if you have not already. Every single like on the channel supports the show, supports more eyes get seen on the show. So that's a big thing for us. Shout out to OCD Gamer falling in here as well. Once again, retweet the link. Let everybody know the Shop Podcast is live this Saturday, man. So I'm going to go ahead and get to my compadres here before we dive into these topics, man. Shout out to everybody. Let's go ahead and throw this over to you, Fuzzy Belvedere, man. How you been doing this week? We were talking a little bit pre-game, but glad to see you, brother.
Man, it's been a quiet week, kind of, but man, a couple of games came out and been busy playing a lot of King of Fighters lately. So been having fun behind the scenes, just kind of playing that. Haven't posted too much video clippage yet because kind of running through the story mode. But man, some great topics and glad to be here with you two gentlemen. And let's get into it.
Let's get into it, man. Always excited to see you, Fuzz, man. Add so much substance to the show, so much smoothness, man. Appreciate you, brother. Always coming to hang out, man. Once again, shout out to everybody in the chat live, man. Appreciate you. What's up, Bacon? How you doing, brother? How's everything going this week, man? Shout out to Bacon hanging out with us, man. But let's go ahead and throw this over to Mr. Pong Harvey. How you doing this week, man? Coming in hot?
Yeah, I'm coming in hot because I love computers. I love PCs. This is why I don't dabble in this garbage, right? So, anyways, it's been a fantastic week. Like Fuzz said, kind of a calm week compared to what we've had. Obviously, calm in the news cycle, and also kind of calm as far as podcasts go. So it's been a nice week. A lot of stuff getting done at work, which is always good. But Night City has never looked better. Oh, God, it's so beautiful. It's just great to see Cyberpunk back. It's great to see other people finally discovering what I've been saying all along, which is that it is a fantastic game. Not everybody has to agree that it's a game of a generation like I did, but at the same time, I'm just happy that more people are jumping back into it and finding out, hey, this is still CD Projekt Red, and they still know how to deliver missions and character development, and the atmosphere is off the charts, and they did a great job with this patch. So I'm happy for that. So it's been a great week as far as that goes. That's pretty much all I've been doing, and I had started doing that a couple weeks before the patch anyways. I've been living in Night City. So played a little Dying Light 2 with Steel this afternoon. That's it for gaming.
Shout out to Steel.
Yeah, shout out to Steel Ray, man, my brother from another. And otherwise, just looking forward to getting down some topics with just us, just the crew, the three of us. This is nice. This is nice. Let's do it, BTK.
Let's dive in, man. So once again, Chad, appreciate you guys hanging out, man. Always glad to have you here, Mr. Pong Harvey. Once again, you guys are all amazing. Glad to see you here. Hit the like button if you haven't already. But let's go ahead and dive in. So we're starting with the poll of the week this week, fellas. So once again, shout out to everybody who participated in the poll of the week every single Monday on my Twitter account. So that's down in the description below. Please go follow your boy down in the description. That way you guys can go ahead and see the poll, take part in the poll. Then, we talk about it here on the Shop Podcast every Saturday. So shout out to everybody who participated once again. So poll of the week this week was who has the best setting catalog of IPs out of these four Japanese developers. Also, what's your favorite IP from your choice? So I had four options, four legendary Japanese developers. So this is actually a hard choice. It's far more than this. I actually went through quite a list and picked the four that I thought were probably the most prominent, and I thought probably be the most important. So we got Capcom, Sega, Konami, and Square Enix. So it was actually a runaway. Sega won 57%, Capcom 26%, Square Enix 11%, and then Konami 6%. So it was a runaway. So once again, chat, let us know how you guys voted on the poll of the week in the chat, man. Appreciate you guys. But we're gonna start with you, Fuzz. Mm-hmm. Where you at, man? We now before we start, We're gonna go ahead and make sure we make sure this is known. We've been talking about Sega for a while.
Mhm.
We've been talking about Sega, but this is actually, when I looked at it, IP for IP, this is actually a lot closer than some people may think. Fuzz, I wanted to say
Yeah.
that before you kind of threw your option out there.
No, I a little bit of background. I'm a super Sega fan. I mean, we had Nintendo
Same.
in the house, and I was the Sega kid in the house. So my sister was all about Nintendo. I was all about Sega, and Sega arcades all my life, pretty much. Came close a couple of times to actually buying the Outrun cabinet and Daytona USA cabinet and putting in the basement. But yeah, I went with Sega just for nostalgia for me personally. I do realize that Capcom is up there as far as IP. Same thing with Konami. Even Square Enix has a fairly decent amount. But for me, I just want to see something like a reimagined Altered Beast. I want another Top Gun like game other than like Ace Combat. Ace Combat's great, which I think that falls under Bandai, or is that Capcom? I can't remember
It's
right now,
Bandai.
but yeah, I just want to see some of those brought back, even if it's just the same arcadey style, just not really a story or anything along those lines. I mean, Altered Beast is about the only one I could really see kind of being reimagined as a RP, well, not really an RPG, but like a AAA, over the shoulder experience where you can transform into different creatures going through this open world setup. But yeah, I voted Sega, and just that's what I would prefer as far as the group. And then you get things like the Yakuza series and everything else that Atlas does. So
You
that would
do
be
get Atlas
huge.
and Persona.
So I think for me, Sega, Capcom would be a close second. Square Enix, I already think they're pretty much a done deal for Sony. Um, and then Konami is kind of like to the highest bidder type of thing. But Sega is my choice.
Okay. All right, nothing wrong with that, brother. Sega's a great choice. Obviously, the home of Sonic. I'm a big Sega kid as well. If you
Mhm.
guys been here on the Shop podcast, you already know I'm a big Sega fan. Always been a big Sega fan. So we're gonna go ahead and get this over to you, Pong. Where you at on this, man? Who'd you vote for in the poll?
Oh boy, this was a definite tough poll. Between Capcom and Sega. Obviously, love Square Enix and some of their older stuff, but obviously, Final Fantasy for me hasn't been the same for a long time. I know it's blasphemy in a lot of circles, but it's the reality of the situation. But they do have a ton of IP as well. But Konami, had a great run, but just really not the volume of IP that you would look for when you're comparing it next to Sega and Capcom. And those two are neck and neck for me. There is wish lists on both sides. Obviously, Dreamcast being my favorite console of all time. Capcom was well represented on that platform. So I've played a lot of Capcom games and things like Power Stone and those types of games, along with just so many Dragon's Dogma. I mean, there's just so many of those IP that we forget about. Lost Planet. Capcom has a fantastic list of IP, but I did wind up going with Sega.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I did. Sega went over the top for me. Yeah, they just incredibly, when you go through their list of IP, like you forget how much they've done because they've got such a long history. Capcom does too, but you just go through Sega's list, it's like holy cow. I mean, most of these games have been dormant for 2 decades plus, but if you just look at it, they got a lot of great stuff. But what put them over the top for me is their Total War series with Creative Assembly on PC. One of the best RTS
Okay.
games ever created. And then, of course, Atlas. And what they've got with Atlas with Shin Megami Tensei and Persona. And the list goes on and on. Those two specifically put me over the top, and I chose Sega. So either way, I don't think you could go wrong. Again, maybe if I was a bigger Resident Evil fan, I might take Capcom because obviously Resident Evil is one of the greatest franchises of all time. But for me, it just I couldn't bear because I basically answered it by like, hey, if I was forced, if I had something in front of me and you have to pick one, and you can never play the other one's titles again. Which one would I pick? And I
Yeah,
think at the end of the day it would be Sega. So that's what I went with.
that is a tough choice, brother.
Yeah,
Tough choice.
it
It's
is.
funny because Capcom has I mean, you got to talk about
Yeah.
Street Fighter. I forgot about
Yeah.
Lost Planet.
Yeah.
I forgot all about that's the OG Destiny, if we're being honest.
It's freaking amazing.
So no, I'm a huge Lost. So like I said, I just put it in the chat. It's on there for the whole internet to read it forever. I would argue Capcom has a better catalog, but I do think you're correct as far as like the legacy titles that Sega currently sits on.
Yeah.
That list is pretty lengthy. That thing is long. So
Mhm.
it was when I made the poll, I figured that was going to be the two main choices, and I actually lean towards Capcom if I'm going to get my little bullet off here. Really because of the Street Fighter, because of I'm a big Power Stone fan, bro.
Yeah, so am I. Huge. Yeah.
I'm a Power Stone stan. Like I don't even know. Like I love that game so much. I played it so much till my hands hurt, bro.
Yep. Same with me. If we get that reboot, we're going toe to toe.
Oh, it's a wrap, bro. Oh, we're definitely doing it, bro. We're definitely that game. Chat. If you didn't play Power Stone, go back. I mean, I'm sure there's some videos on YouTube of people playing it.
They brought it out on the Vita. You could play it on the Vita.
Vita. Okay, cool. See, yeah. So once again, I mean, if you can find a Vita, good luck.
Yeah,
with
if
that,
you can find a Vita, but yeah, they did bring it out on that. Yeah.
But yeah, it's an amazing game. You got Mega Man. I mean, obviously, that's not. But so it's awesome, man. They got a lot of games, got a lot of awesome things. I think the only company that I would put up here that I didn't put would maybe be Bandai Namco.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, that's probably who I forgot if I had to like swap somebody off the list. So what would you guys think if I added Bandai? Would that change your decision?
For me, Bandai would bump above Capcom at this current moment.
Really?
Yeah.
What puts Bandai over Capcom?
Ace Combat. Like I'm a huge Top Gun fan, and Afterburner 2 or Afterburner in general was my go-to growing up, and Ace Combat was like after Afterburner went away, that was my go-to. And then pretty much all of the like right now I'm having fun playing who is it, King of Fighters, and I believe that's it's like Bandai and SNK or something like that, I believe. So it's like
SNK does all the King of Fighters.
So I would say Bandai just a smidge above, because and Dragon Ball, and there's like a whole bunch
Soul
of
Calibur.
Soul Calibur,
Tekken.
Tekken. So it's like they are the brunt of my arcade existence, playing pretty much the arcade fighters. So, and I kind of think there's a resurgence.
And they got the Tales series now, Scarlet Nexus. I mean, they've been really coming on lately too. They got Ridge Racer from back in the day.
If you don't mind me detouring a little bit to Speculation Town, didn't we hear about somebody taking Killer Instinct for Xbox?
Mm-hmm. We sure did. Mm-hmm. And they were the one.
Well, I mean, hey, I didn't know if you wanted to go there early in the show. I don't know if we were ready to go. But anyway, so so once again, chat, let us know what option. All of those are, you really can't go wrong with any of those options, to be honest with you. And I do think, and this may lead us in a different direction, that is the last frontier for Xbox, as far as like that needs to be some, maybe not acquisition. I don't know, some type of major move in that area as far as getting a foot in the door there. I do think that's the
partnership or something.
Yeah. Well, I mean, hey, we just saw some, anyway, well, but anyway, I mean, we're reading the tea leaves around here. If you guys go just look at our Twitter feed throughout the day, you guys will maybe connect the dots, but interesting to see. Very, very interesting to see. So once again, guys, let us know in the chat, what did you guys vote for that poll of the week every single Monday? Then we talk about it here on the Shop podcast on Saturday, man. We're moving on to the meatier topics of the show. This is what you guys come for. This is why you guys tune in. So now this is a perfect segue, because we're talking a little bit about Capcom, and they got a surprise, people. They got a surprise, fellas. So Monday, so there was this countdown that started, I believe, this week. And apparently there's something happening Monday. Now, there are a lot of rumors out there about what big announcement they're going to make. A lot of people saying Street Fighter. I don't know if you heard that, Fuzz Pong.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of people saying Street Fighter.
Absolutely.
Some people saying Resident Evil related. Who knows? So once again, chat, let us know where you guys. We're gonna break this down as best as we possibly can. So hang out with us. Hit the like button. Shout out to you, Froggy T White. Appreciate you, brother. OCD Gamer in the chat. We're gonna roll with you on this one, Pong. Now, once again, lots of things being said, a lot of information out right now on Twitter. But from what you can surmise, that's my word of the day. From what you can surmise, what do you get from this announcement? What do you want to see from Capcom?
Well, geez, you forgot to mention the hack that specifically spelled out that Phil was going to show up on stage and announce that Xbox had purchased
my goodness,
Capcom and sealed a deal. That was what this whole countdown was. Somebody hacked in and saw all the code, and it said right in there, Phil Spencer on stage announces that.
Wow,
I mean, it was crazy.
Between the O's and the ones, between all of that code,
it was crazy.
Spencer, really? Wow, got it.
So the cat's out of the bag already. So get ready on Monday. The internet's gonna melt down. It's gonna be amazing.
Oh Lord!
No.
You heard it here first, man. If he's right, I'm gonna lose my fucking. I'm gonna deactivate my account. If you're right.
I don't think you have to worry about deactivating. Look, I'm gonna go with Grubb is very reliable, and I think that he's was pretty strong in his conviction that Street Fighter was going to be the announcement on Monday. So I definitely am going to roll with that. I wouldn't, I certainly would make sense if they're going to do some kind of Resident Evil, either like DLC for Village or whatever the case may be, or if they're going to add something. I mean, they announced that little, they have like a museum of the history of Resident Evil, which they announced this week, digital museum. So maybe it is a Resident Evil announcement. Maybe it's the Resident Evil 4 remake kind of deal. But I still think that it's time that they announce Street Fighter. And I think it's going to come back as a multi-plat. I don't think Sony's locking it down.
That's the thing. That's the other question.
Interestingly enough, the Xbox rewards page, for all of you that do your points on a daily basis, had their poll up. And their poll was, which Capcom fighter do you like better?
Mm-hmm.
They put up Street Fighter or Capcom versus Marvel.
See, Fuzz got you out here reading. Fuzz, you rubbing off on Pong. You got him out here reading tea leaves and buying incense. This is ridiculous.
Yeah, it was just too appropriate after Grubb's whole show in which he did state that he thinks it's Street Fighter, and then all of a sudden that poll question's up on the Xbox side of things. Hey, kind of put two and two together. So I'm going to say Street Fighter, and I definitely think it's going to be multi-plat this time around.
Okay, you know what? It's funny because it makes sense, right? I mean, I don't. The last what we got, Street Fighter 5. That was I don't even know what year. That was last generation.
It was last gen.
So it's due at this point in time. I mean, King of Fighters come out. That's come out to a big reception. A lot bigger reception than I even thought. It's funny because the fighter market's coming back, man. I mean, it never really left, but it's making a huge resurgence, man. People aren't really paying attention to that or really talking about it. But there's a lot of good fighters out there, and with King of Fighters doing so well, and you never know where Killer Instinct's going, and possible Street Fighter announcement. So this is going to be very interesting to see. I do think it's Street Fighter related as well, and it's funny because I probably would have said that had Jeff Grubb not even made an announcement, only because it makes sense. I mean, Resident Evil, that's cool. I mean, a new Resident Evil would always be a big deal, but Street Fighter, that's going to make like big waves, especially right before summertime, right before these showcases start rolling out. But we'll go ahead and get your take on this, Fuzz, man. Once again, chat, let us know where you guys are at on this too. Shout out to you, She Snow. Appreciate you down in the chat, bro. But let us know, Fuzz, where you at, man. You've been doing your analysis.
Very similar lines, like what Pong was saying. Like that survey was kind of strange,
coincidental,
like timing.
Coincidental,
a little more to coincidence, I guess. But I kind of feel, just because we haven't heard anything Street Fighter related in quite a while. I mean, Street Fighter 5 came out, and then probably 2 years into it, they did some upgrades, and it's kind of like super alpha or whatever now. I'll be honest, I haven't touched it since I got my PS5. But for the most part, I'm really enjoying the King of Fighters right now. It makes sense just for the fact that we haven't heard anything in a while. And it makes sense that it would be multi-plat, because I think I've heard rumblings prior that it didn't do as well. Like it sold, I want to say, over 5 mil if I'm not mistaken, but that's
Ooh,
over like
It
a
was a
it
slow drip. That thing
six
got off to
year
a rough
period
start.
or something, 5 to 6 years.
It got off
So
to a rough start. Yeah.
that's not good for Street Fighter. Street Fighter is normally like, well, then again, it's getting long in the tooth, and people are like, oh, it needs to change. It doesn't really need to change, but um, it's one
People
of those
love the
things
hell
where
out of
we're
Mortal
used
Kombat.
to the old days of it being like a 10 and 12 million copies sold within like the first couple of months type of thing. So I would have to believe Capcom realizes, yeah, they've done fairly well with their Resident Evil series and doing some of the remakes or reboots and things like that, but it's time for another Street Fighter. I mean, it's been too long. It's only on one platform right now, and it doesn't seem like it's getting quite the attention or sunshine like it used to. So I think it's time to bring it multi-plat, announce it, and then hopefully, while you know everybody's in the mood for a fighting game, kind of maybe steal some of the thunder from King of Fighters. But
Yeah.
yeah, they probably should have pushed that countdown up a bit to beat the release of King of Fighters. But then again, it's always great to have
It's still
multiple
Street Fighter
games.
though.
Oh
It's
yeah, oh
still
yeah.
Street
Street
Fighter.
Fighter's
Yeah.
definitely gonna sell. Like if it's multi-plat, I'm definitely buying it. It's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. If it's only on PS5, then I'm gonna wait until they come up with the Super Alpha Turbo or whatever edition you want to call that, the one that they usually do about mid-gen or mid lifespan of it with all the DLC character
Yeah.
standard plus some other stuff. But yeah, I'm fingers crossed. I hope it's Street Fighter. Could be Resident Evil, but I agree with Pong. I think with Jeff Grubb's track record right now, and just the fact that they haven't talked about a Street Fighter in a while, it needs to be that for that countdown.
Okay. Well, no, I agree. So, chat, I think we're all on record here. I think we're all in agreement that this should be and hopefully will be a Street Fighter announcement on Monday. I don't know if they have a. I don't think they have a time, fellas. I just believe they
yeah,
gave us a date. I don't think they gave us a specific time, but
no,
I am
and
very hopeful. Go ahead.
and five released on February 16th, 2016.
Mm.
So we are right in
We're
that
right
same
in that,
window.
yeah, right in
Yep.
that same window. Good point. Good
Yeah,
point. So this could be
nice.
big. And once again, I guess the multi-plat thing is gonna come up. That's obviously the very next question, right? After what the hell are they showing? The very next follow-up question is, well, is it gonna be on everything? Because the last game was not. So that's gonna be a big deal. So we'll follow this closely, guys. We'll wake up Monday. We'll obviously know at some point what the hell is going on over there at Capcom, what they're cooking up. So it's gonna be fun though. So keep your eyes open, stay buckled up. But yeah, I think so. I think so. I think we're all going the right direction with that prediction. Feel pretty good about that one. So let's go ahead and move on to the next one. Now, this is really the one I wanted to get to because we talked about this last week. Had a topic about platinum games last week, talking about Kamaya basically coming out saying, look, we want to work with Xbox. I still want to work on Scalebound. If just give us a shot, Phil. He's shooting his shot, people all in the DMs, shooting his shot. He's just basically, he's not even blocking people anymore. It's crazy. I mean, he's changing his whole attitude. But so this now we follow up information, especially from the actual CEO and or head of Platinum Games coming out saying that they're not beyond the idea of an acquisition as long as they're able to function independently, a la Bungie. So let us kind of do what we want to do. You just fund, our ideas. So I don't know how everybody feels about that. This is kind of funny to me that we've already evolved to this point so quickly, that we've gotten to this point. I mean, and this is happening actually. Like, I know it's kind of a buzzword. People hate it. Shout out to people in the chat. But that acquisition season, Pong, I know
Oh,
you've kind of coined that term. People hate it, but it is what it is. I mean, it's really happening, Pong. So we actually gonna open up with this development and see where you're at on this, right? That actually happened really quick. We went
yeah.
from I want to work
Well,
on this.
look.
Yeah, we're cool with being bought.
Well, of course, it's a seller's market right now. Everybody sees the writing on the wall. Money's being thrown around like it never has been before. We're already over 80 million this year. Analysts are saying that we're going to see 150 million plus in acquisitions this year. So, man, everybody wants to jump on this train because they understand the industry's changing. And we just heard Platinum come out and talk about the fact that they don't just want to do their action games anymore. that they want to move to a bigger type games as a service type game and ongoing, well, that takes a lot of money. And these guys have been free agents out here. They've been just, licensing themselves out to work on IP they don't own, like the Bayonettas of the world, like the Near Automatas. They don't own any IP. Everything has been somebody else's. So with those kind of grand, plans or goals that they want to get to, yeah, they're looking around and saying, man, it would be nice not to have to worry about finding funding for this stuff, right? This would just be nice to be underneath a big umbrella. We're given all the time and space we need to work through this, these different ideas that we now have with this changing industry and come up with something that's super great, that we have in the past, but we've done it for other people. But this time, we're just part of a family, and now we just keep it in the same, keep it in that family, right? And I think that that's what they're looking for here. So it just makes total sense. Again, right now it's a seller's market because of acquisition season. That was a special Nick term, by the way. Special Nick is the one who came up
Yeah.
with
Oh,
that.
my bad.
He,
My bad.
yeah,
Let me give the
yeah,
right
yeah,
credit. I don't want to give
yeah.
Pong. His head is already big enough, people. He
Golden
doesn't need
age of
any more.
gaming, though. Now that one I
Yeah.
might
Oh, yeah.
can trademark. So, but
you're right.
but no, I just think that it makes perfect sense for this type of studio again, who don't have the backing. They've always had to find other people to back their projects, to be the ones to fund. So why not finally join somebody? And if they've matured from a studio standpoint to where they actually want to start growing as well to work on bigger projects, well, geez, you got to have a nice, safe place to be resting on. You can't be floating around in the ocean hoping somebody comes along and picks you up. That's just not going to work out. So you got to put yourself out there. So that's what they're doing. And again, we had these conversations on plenty of shows as the scalebound stuff came up, and Platinum talked about that, and would it be great for Xbox to acquire? Well, yeah, it would. I'm in the same boat. Again, talent right now, resources, the
At a
human
premium.
that's at a premium. The only thing at a more premium right now is time, but the human aspect of this development of games, everybody's fighting over the same pool of people, and that pool has gotten extremely small because there's so many companies making games right now. So to pick up a talented veteran team that has, again, had some missteps, they do have an A and B team. And the B team has had some missteps. We've seen it. They've been hit or miss, but the A team, Bayonettas, the Near Automatas, the Metal Gear Rising, Revengeance, like those, you can't, those are classics. Those are A+ type action games. So you got a veteran crew that have proven themselves. And to be able to pick them up at this point, it wouldn't cost a lot. They don't own any IP. I don't think they have even really any tech behind them. So that you would just be picking up all the people, right? That's what you'd be picking up, the studio and the people. But then all of a sudden you've got another Japanese team to go along with Tango, where you're trying to get a foothold, and Platinum Games over there still is a big name. They are a big name in the West too, but they have reverence over on the East side of things. That's why Nintendo hired them to make Bayonetta 3 and made Bayonetta 3 exclusive, right? Because that market over there in the East loves those types of games. Again, it's loved everywhere, but over there, Platinum is well known. So you would already pick up that respectability. Talk about a redemption story. Again, bringing them on board, giving them Scalebound back again. Let that be their first game out the gates. Say, hey, welcome to Xbox. Get the Scalebound done. Let's move forward. Let's start talking about your big games that you want to do, your games as a service, but let's get the Scalebound done, and let's make it your best game that you ever have made before in your life, right? And let's get that one out of the way. And man, what a redemption story, right? So I just think that would be fantastic for Xbox and for Platinum, but I'm sure there's plenty of other suitors out there right now. I'm sure there's Sony's, the Nintendos. Don't discount Nintendo. There was just an article that talked about how Nintendo has been fighting against purchasing studios. That's not their forte. They don't like to do it unless it's an absolute 100% slam dunk fit. They don't like to do that. But the article went on to state, and this was in gamesindustry.biz, went on to state that they may be forced to at this point. They might have to actually buy some studios just to make sure that they have enough talent in the future to continue forward. And Platinum has worked with Nintendo a lot. So do not put it past that Nintendo rolls in there. But again, who knows at this point? I think it makes perfect sense though that they're signaling, just like we just saw Ubisoft change
Yeah,
stance.
yeah.
So like anybody who's in an unstable position or not necessarily the biggest studio right now is putting up flags saying, hey, we're over here. Hey, you see those millions, those billions? Yeah, you can send them this way. We'll be happy to join because it makes sense. The future, again, in this industry, where it's going, you're going to want to be. If you're that type of studio, not all studios are going to be that way. There's going to be plenty of other studios that fill in all these holes from these acquisitions, but for the studios that are in that position that may want that security, there's going to be no better place than to be underneath a bigger umbrella. And right now, there's no better time to be one of the ones being bought because the money is getting crazier and crazier. So I think it makes total sense.
Oh, absolutely. And we touched on this last week. We talked about Platinum last week, obviously about Kamaya's son with the sudden change of tune as far as the scalebound stuff and where they're at with Xbox and a huge open apology, which was not really his thing, right? That's not really his MO. He doesn't really make public apologies, but that was kind of nice to see. But once again, time goes by, people learn, people grow. I think that's the biggest thing here. And it does in reality, if we're being fair here, Pong, it does fill a spot. If we're talking Xbox here, a huge Xbox, that's an
A lot
immediate
of
foot in the
ways.
door.
Yep.
Immediate foot in the door. Like you said, you get talent. They don't really own any IPs.
Yep.
People, there's still high expectations. They have a great reputation over in Japan. They're not quite as big as maybe like a Square or somebody, but they have a lot of IPs that people care about. Bayonetta being one of them. I know at one point, didn't they do Beautiful Joe? Wasn't that one of their games? Or was that someone
they
else?
did they did Wonderful 101.
Wonderful World. Oh, 101. That's the one that kind of
yeah.
Yeah, so you're right. I'm sorry.
Nope.
But either or, lots of talent over there. It'd be very interesting to see what they can come up, like you said, with just a huge cash infusion from someone. And once again, I know we're talking about Xbox, but there's a lot of suitors out there, a ton of
There's
suitors.
a lot of suitors.
You still got Tencent and Embracer. They still out there fishing around. Obviously, Sony, they just made a big purchase. They're not done. They've made that clear. Xbox, they've made that clear. Amazon, who knows who next? So let's go.
And we're starting to see signs too, real quick, BTK.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, we're just seeing signs that Xbox is making moves in Japan right now. Like we've always heard that, and Phil's been over there, but we've seen some hirings lately and some positions being filled that really show that maybe this is the time they're making their move and they want to plant their flag over there in some way, shape, or form.
So let me take that and run with it.
Yeah.
Do they need to make a splash? And I'm throwing this to you and Fuzz. So that move that needs to be made for Xbox, does it need to be a boom, like a splash move? Or can it be just I don't know if Platinum's a splash move. I think it will be a big deal. But I don't know if it's
they need a publisher if they're going to make a splash move over there for Japan, right? They can make smaller moves in Korea and start establishing themselves there, and start, making relationships with some of the smaller Chinese developers, which is a little bit more difficult due to the government stuff. But you can, work with the independents over there. But I think Korea is the next hot spot. Where developers are going to come out of it. Korea actually has a real good chance of becoming the next Japan when it comes to video games because their style is actually unique from even the Japanese style of game. And it's really different. So I think I would start there, and you can start small, start with the indie devs, maybe pick up a small developer in Korea, establish your flag there, start making relationships. But then in Japan, you do have to make more than just one move. Like they have Tango, doesn't really do much. Yeah, they've got some influence over there because obviously they got connections now, but Platinum would help. But I think you do still have to make a publisher move in Japan to really establish yourself. It will be on the lines of a ZeniMax. Like if they did acquire Sega, it would be more like, hey, we're acquiring Sega, but this is just basically, Sega still. Like we're going to keep Sega what it is. We're not going to absorb them. They are Sega. They're going to run the way that they have run. That culture is going to remain the same there. It's going to be more of a partnership acquisition than anything else. I don't even know if they would mess with it. They would keep this name because the name's so important, but that would be kind of like Xbox East, but it would just be like, hey, it's Sega, but they're underneath our umbrella, but that would establish them in Japan to do something like that. And I think that's the next move after the Activision Blizzard deal's done next year sometime, I think they do go get their Japanese publisher and call it a day. I think that's
Okay.
what's next.
I like that, and
Yeah.
I just got a feeling that Fuzz is going right down that line too. And I mean, not that I know this already or anything, but ultimately, I do think that matters. I mean, people. So right, so we talk about this, right? Like, depending on the optics, does that really matter? And depending on if you're casual, hardcore, people try and make the distinction. Like, well, does things like that matter? But ultimately, that's to me, and I've said this once again, and I may be way off base, but I think that that's still the last frontier for Xbox as a platform. That's the last place, that's been the toughest place for them to like penetrate. Pause, right? For them for them to get into. They really haven't gotten a foothold. They have great relationships. They do good business with people over there. All the big companies over there really at one point in time have really worked with Xbox. You go along from the OG Xbox all the way to the series, and they've put their stamp. They pretty much have a game from every single major publisher over there. Just about if I really had to go through their catalog. So they do good business. So where you at on this, Fuzz, man? Where do you the big splash? I feel like you already kind of going that route anyway.
A big splash would be preferred, but I think platinum is a great start. Already have, like Pong said, they already have Tango. It's not going to really get them that much more recognition in that region, but adding a platinum games will definitely help. Maybe even doing more with Kojima himself, although I don't know how much of an investment Sony has in his studio and hardware and software that he's using, because I know he used the Decima engine on his previous game. But yeah, for the most part, getting a publisher would probably be the best approach. And Sega is, I would say, one of the probably easier or least expensive ones to at least get their foothold, and it'll allow them to have, well, not that they have to really worry that much about a budget, but
Mm-hmm.
if they don't want to just blow a ton of money and draw too much possible negative attention by being kind of like this takeover region type of deal, I think Sega's a good start. Picking up platinum, even though I may not be the biggest fan of how they did Xbox in the past, but everybody's social media face at this point in time is pointing in the direction that they're willing to at least work together, and having a second chance or giving someone a second chance is the honorable thing, and honor is a big thing over there. So I think start small, but a big splash is what they need overall to really get a foothold there. They're never going to, overthrow Sony
Yeah,
or
no, good luck.
Nintendo,
They'd have
but
to
to
somehow pry Pokemon away from Nintendo.
right. I mean, they stand a much better chance with having something like Sega in their pocket, or Capcom in their pocket, or something along those lines. But Platinum being a part of the fold would definitely help, and give them the freedom to create new IPs. I think, given how a lot of the Xbox studios are now, and the kind of hands-off approach that they have with ZeniMax, I think it's probably for the best, because when you let the creators create, they pretty much put more of their heart and soul and energy in it, and that passion for that is what comes through in the game, and generally usually makes it for a better played or better uh, game to resonate with us, gamers. But yeah, I think a splash is needed, but platinum, that's a good start.
Okay. No, I think platinum is a great start. Like, I mean, when you really think about it, I mean, I get so the whole thing is right. Some people can't get over that whole, I know you said you were fighting and struggling with the whole fact that, they handled that Xbox situation, in just to be clear here, in a completely unprofessional way, if we're
Yeah.
being honest, right? So, everybody, you can do your own research. There's a lot of interpretations. There's a lot of information on both sides. We understand there's two stories, two parties involved. It wasn't just platinum, but for the most part, I mean, I give you a bag of money, I do, that's pretty much your responsibility at that point. So yeah, I do wholeheartedly agree with you guys in regards to that going forward. So since we're moving along swiftly, chat, just want to let you guys know we're going to be taking some questions, definitely. So we're going to let you guys run pretty much the second half of the show once we finish up this next topic. And we're going to get it in, do some freestyle type stuff, and, just have some fun and kicking and just answer some questions that we didn't really get to or have on the actual list. So let's get to this last topic, though, man. Shout out to everybody watching live, man. Appreciate you. P Firebird 77, how you doing? OCD Gamer, how you doing? We're going to be showing a little bit of love to Cyberpunk 2077. So right now, I'm going to start with you on this one, Pong, because I'm going to let you gush about this. I really, and it's funny because I don't do this enough. I don't do this enough to you, Pong. So, we do it anytime we talk about like Bethesda related stuff with God Howard, but
yeah, we do it a lot.
Yeah, we do it quite a bit. But I'm gonna let you gush on this one and get your rocks off, because you have been on this train from day one. Yep. You did not jump ship. Nope. You have held steady, and you have died on that hill. And we have receipts. We can go back and look at the archives, people. He has been on the Cyberpunk train since day one, never jumped off. So we're going to go ahead and get this started. Once again, if you guys didn't know, big, huge patch came out. Series X, the next-gen patch, essentially, did a lot of awesome things with the game, cleaned up a lot of things that people had issues with. Made it an overall better game. It was already a fantastic game, but it cleaned up a lot of stuff I guess people had issues with. We're going to start with you on this one, Pong. Where you at on this? I mean, you're right back in Night City. We were talking about this right before the show. Yeah. I mean, where you at, bro? What's going on? You enjoying the game?
Yeah. 250 hours in, still on my first playthrough.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
See, I didn't even know that. That's crazy.
Yeah. No joke. A lot of that. I mean, again, I've said this. Realistically, 50 hours of it is probably photo mode and just driving around, enjoying the city. I spent a lot of time in photo mode and just driving, listening to the radio and checking in the atmosphere. That's how good this game really is for me. And again, I understand it's not for everybody. I'm not here to tell everybody run out and play it, but they do have a 5-hour trial going right now. So you can try it for 5 hours if you have a PS5 or a Series console, and you can transfer over that progress if you decide to purchase. So again, no risk. So jump in and see if it is something that you actually do enjoy. Don't listen to, what the hate train was when it first launched. Some of it was deserved, especially for the last gen consoles. They really screwed over a lot of people. They weren't upfront. We've heard all the stories, so a lot of the hate was well-deserved, but it was getting hate from people who never even tried it, whoever never even looked at it, who owned current gen consoles like the Series console or the PS5 and still refused to try it and just wanted to hate on it. And those people right now, I hope a lot of them are jumping back in. Again, I said it on this morning on Living Split Screen. Just deep down inside, know you all are hypocrites now that you're jumping on Twitter, posting pictures after you hated on the game. But look, I'm happy you're here, and I'm happy that you're enjoying Night City, because I want CD Projekt Red to come back from this, and I want Cyberpunk to continue on. So, with this new patch, for somebody who's put as many hours as I have between the beginning, day one, without a patch, to now. Really, I can feel the difference, and I can see the difference in small ways. Like, they polished it up. It really shines right now. Realistically, if I popped in the game and you had never played it, and I popped in on patch 1.3.1, which was the last one, and told you that was the current gen patch, most people would have believed me. It was already in a great state at that point on the Series console and on PS5. But this one definitely cleaned it up a little bit even more. The frame rate feels a little bit smoother than it did previously, even though it was running great. It's the little things that they changed, and the graphics. They definitely changed some of those, polished them up. It's definitely cleaner in some areas. Draw distance has been improved, which you wouldn't notice because the draw distance was okay, but there were certain areas like in the desert where they have the big wind farms, where you'd look and you'd see like half of the fan spinning in midair with no tower attached to it. Well, some of that's been filled in. It's still not perfect, but a lot of that stuff got cleaned up. But yeah, no, Cyberpunk 2077, I want CD Projekt Red to have a chance to do another one in the future, even if it's next gen, even if we don't get, because they're going to work on Witcher. They've got some other projects going on too as well after this. So even if we don't get a sequel this gen, even though this gen's going to be very long, so there's a chance, even if it even if it is next gen, I want to see them come back to Night City. What they created here from a story aspect, from a character aspect, is some of their best work. And that even goes up against some of the Witcher 3 stuff. There are side missions that I'm still discovering over 200 hours in. I just had 2 side missions this week that started out as small missions. And then I got those completed and I was doing other stuff. And the characters from that small mission called me back. And all of a sudden it turned into a full blown 45-minute to an hour side mission. And unbelievable, like just stopping me dead when I was done and me just going, wow, that just really hit home. That was something powerful right there. That's CD Projekt Red at their best. There are very few studios. This is why before the whole debacle, they were considered one of the best Western RPG studios out there, if not the best. Just purely almost all off of Witcher 3 and what they did with those and the DLC that they dropped on Witcher 3. That shows that this is real talent because they've created a whole different type of game in a whole different setting and still are bringing that writing and that power of emotion to this game here. The character development is just so unbelievable, and the atmosphere. This is the closest thing I've ever felt to a cyberpunk as I envision it. Is it perfect? No, it's not perfect. There's still problems. They overpromised and they underdelivered. There's lots of features that are still missing. They promised us that the AI for the NPCs that were randomly walking around the city were going to be something we had never seen before. Well, that's not really the case. There's things like that. But again, if you're not looking for the problems, if you're not looking for the little bugs that you're going to come across, and you're just walking through the city or driving through the city and listening to music, and you're just kind of soaking it all in, that game will suck you in, and you will feel like that this is a living, breathing kind of world if you're not looking hard, right? So if you're just walking through, you're going to feel like a lot is going on around you. That's a very hard thing to do. They were just overly ambitious. And again, I will never fault a dev for being overly ambitious. I would
That's
rather
true.
have, people can say, yeah, but they overpromise and then they come out and they trip and they fall. Yeah, that's true. And like I said in a couple of shows now, I said maybe developers do need to take a better look in the mirror and have some self-awareness and say, hey, maybe we're going a little over to the top with the hype. Like maybe we need to dial it back a little bit. And then if we actually are able to implement all this stuff, then we can come out here and be like, hey, look at what we just did, right? Maybe they need to start dialing it back. But overall, I will never fault a dev for being too ambitious because they push this industry forward and try things that haven't been tried before or try to create a bigger world than has ever been created before. And at the end of the day, even if that game doesn't turn out perfect, and they take the black eye for it, there's going to be other people that follow in their footsteps, or they get a second chance at it with like a sequel, and they're going to have all that knowledge that they learned from that experience, and the outside people looking in saying, hey, we can do that. We can actually do that better. We can do this part better. We already know how to do this. And all of a sudden you get a game from another developer that pushes the envelope a little bit further. That's why I love what CD Projekt Red did with this game. Again, I cheated. I didn't play on last gen. I played on Series X from day one. So I got the better experience out the gate. I, again, personally am not susceptible. I'm not sensitive to bugs like a lot of people are. If you are sensitive to bugs, I can understand why your experience would not have been the best, especially when this game first came out. If that takes you out of the immersion and that's all you focus on is the bugs, hey, I understand completely why you wouldn't want to play this game back on day one, right? But for me, I've played so many games through the years, so many big world games that have been buggy. Skyrim, Oblivion, my God, they're called Bugthesda for a reason, right? They're full of bugs, okay? but they're not game-breaking bugs. They're not, again, two things. A bug that it breaks the game, and does not let me finish things, or a bug that erases my saves and I lose my time that I invested in that game. Those are the two bugs that I will stop playing your game for. I did it with Watch Dogs Legions, lost 5 hours, and I was done with that game. Okay. I said, nope, you're not going to respect my time. I'm done. Okay. Period. I can't, I'm not going to try this and then lose more hours. So those are the only two for me. The rest of this stuff, usually gives the game character. Now, some people may argue with me. That's fine. I don't care. For me, it's character. When I see a Skyrim bug still to this day, I wind up usually laughing or smiling, being like, yep, that's Skyrim. There we go. And that's just how it is. And that's the way I came across. That's the way those bugs in Cyberpunk that I experienced came across to me. I was like, yeah, Cyberpunk. Look at this. This is pretty funny, actually. There was some crazy, wild stuff, in there, but it was just goofy, man. Cars flying through the air, dropping in the middle of nowhere, all that kind of stuff. Just goofy stuff that made me laugh. So, all that aside, Cyberpunk is well worth your time, again, to try. I know there's a ton of games coming out. What was crazy to me this week, PTK, was that when this patch hit, even though Horizon Forbidden West was coming out, my timeline was filled with Cyberpunk talk. That was the craziest thing.
I did see a lot of chatter, a lot of people talking about it.
Because there has been so many people that honestly just said, nope, I'm waiting until the current gen patch hits. And all those people came out of the closet like crazy, like running, like they had been just staring at this at the case, just waiting to open it up and pop that game in this whole entire time. And now it finally happened; they could do it. That was what was crazy to me. That shows you that CD Projekt Red magic still is there. That people understand that they can still build great games, and that maybe, just maybe, bugs aside, this is one of those experiences that you don't want to say you missed out on down the road, because people are going to look back at this, hopefully if they get the DLC right, and drop some really good story content for us and continue to work on this game, that someday people are going to look back and say, that's one of CD Projekt Red's best games of all time, and you would not have want to missed out on that experience. So I hope that's what's happening here. Maybe we get the multiplayer standalone game back on the table, if they get enough people interested in it again. Maybe that comes back as well, because I was kind of looking forward to that. We still have the animation coming out. The animation's still supposed to come out, so that'll help out with the hype too. Just really looking forward to it, and I just don't want to see Cyberpunk become an IP that dies on the vine because of what happened in the beginning. I want to see this continue to be. I want it to be a new franchise for CD Projekt Red in reality. So everybody go check it out. Again, if you got the newer consoles, go try the 5-hour trial. I got a couple people on Twitter to do it just by telling them that there was a 5-hour trial, that people weren't realizing there was one. So go check it out and just see for yourself if it's something you want to jump into. I tell you what, if you get into the game and you start enjoying yourself and you really start exploring the city and finding these side missions that are out there and not just mainlining the main story, you will find some of those great side missions that you come to expect from CD Projekt Red, with real characters that sometimes have development paths or just you care about on an emotional level that rivals the main story characters. I don't know how many games can say that. There's only a handful probably in my lifetime that I can say that about. This is one of those. Like I said, some of the side characters I freaking cared about more than some of the main characters. Like, it's ridiculous. That's how good it is. Yeah, there's still some throwaway missions and whatever else and all that kind of stuff. You're never going to have 100% great side mission quest lines, but there's some deep quest lines in there with some crazy stories that you won't believe what you're reading and hearing from the characters, and what you're investigating, and all sorts of those kinds of things, all different types of missions. Go check it out, please. It's well worth your time. Again, even when we have all these games right now, this one you should make a little bit of space for.
Awesome. Love to hear it. I love to see the positive energy. Dare I say, at the point in time, I thought, and they still might be on this track, but I thought they were on their way to like a prime Bethesda like kind of territory, right? Like, to that type of like to that type of like esteem in the industry, the way they were going. Because I mean, Witcher 3, for all intents and purposes, was game of the decade or something crazy like that. I thought it won an award for something like that, something insane. So I mean, you don't get that distinction. That's like a GTA level distinction.
And people always forget that Witcher 3, when it came out, because we didn't have it, social media was around, but it wasn't like it is today. Witcher 3 was in a terrible mess state when it came out too.
It was
a bug fest.
Good point.
As well. And they fixed it, dropped the free DLC. The DLC wound up being better than some of the main parts of the game, and everybody forgot all the bugs and said, this is one of the best games of all time, right? So that's how it works. That's what I'm hoping happens here. So
Yeah. So,
Yep.
and a lot of cool ideas in the chat. Shout out to OCD. Said, I think if they have a great DLC for Cyberpunk, a lot of people will return. That's a great idea. I don't know what kind of roadmap. I think they had one
They
prior
do.
to they do.
Yep.
So yeah,
Yeah.
I remember reading about that or seeing something about that prior to the game actually coming out. So yeah, that's a great. That I mean, that we can obviously assume that that's going to bring a lot of people back. They open up new areas, new quests. I'm sure they got a big story left to tell. So let's go ahead and throw this over to you, Fuzz. Get your opinion. Have you gone back and played? Have you tried it? If you have, what's your
I
opinion?
I haven't gone back to play it. Like I've got 16 hours in it, and when I first played it, like I don't think I played it until I already had my Series X. I think by the time it came out, I had my Series X and didn't have any problems really. Although I got stuck in the one tutorial thing where you're training on attacking enemies and stuff like that. Um, like not even a day or two later, the patch that they had like within the first week or something fixed that, and I made it through a couple of missions, but I kind of put it down only because I wanted to wait for the next gen patch. I'm like, it looks great. It was playing great after the first or the initial patch, but haven't bothered to touch it because I know I'm gonna sink a lot of hours in. Like, I'm that type of guy. Like much like Pong, just driving around taking pictures. I'm gonna wind up doing the same thing. I'm gonna wind up going down those alleys that don't look like they're on the beaten path and trying to see if there's something going on there and just explore the entire night city. But I just 16 hours in, figured, I can wait for the next gen patch. I think at that point I was like between that and Horizon 4, and I think probably Division 2. I was back into that, so I kind of spent more time on those afterwards and figured I'd come back afterwards. But right now I'm kind of rushing through the story mode of King of Fighters. Once that's finished, it's going to be a toss up between either starting Horizon Forbidden West or going back to Cyberpunk. And I have a feeling it's probably going to be Horizon because I feel I'm going to spend less time on that, or it's going to be a shorter experience for me, just because I'm probably going to rush through the story and not do all of the side mission stuff. With Cyberpunk, it'll be one where I actually spend more time doing the side missions than the main mission stuff. But yeah, I haven't taken a look. I'm kind of dying to take a look at it. I wound up moving it from the external hard drive to the internal on my Series X, and just I'm afraid to start it up now because I know I'm not going to be playing anything else after I start it up. But yeah, it's great that they finally did the next gen patch. It's great that they stopped talking about the next gen patch for the time period that they did, because it was kind of like before when they had that roadmap. It was like, oh, it's coming, November, and then it didn't come November, and then it was like, oh, it'll come January, and it was like everybody I think was in agreement at that point. Just stop talking until you have something ready, and this kind of like shadow drop of it was a well received type of deal. But yeah, it's I didn't really have problems, but then again, like I said, played it on Series X. I never even touched it with my One X, so I feel bad for those that are still on the previous gen consoles if they're still having issues as far as frame rates and things like that. Although I know they've had a few patches over the time to kind of make it better for those, but at this point, I definitely am looking forward to it. Just trying to bide my time before I no life that game. This felt the best way I could put it.
All right. So no, we're good. We're good. So all right,
Mhm.
no, great breakdown. Great breakdown. So it's good to see the positive energy going back towards, and I think that's the big thing here for me, because they were getting crucified
Yeah.
over all of this, and they took a big hit. Ultimately, I think it's for the better of the game. Obviously, it seems
Mhm.
to be for the better of the game. As in this big patch, generally is being really, really well received across the board. Haven't really heard many people with anything negative to say about the update. Everybody's generally happy with it and happy with the performance, and and what everything looks like, and just the overall package. So that's awesome to hear. Now we are also going to be taking questions from you guys in chat. Let us know what you guys want to talk about. So throw your questions in chat right now. I will answer them as many as we can here before
Here,
we
I'll
wrap
throw I'll
things
throw
up.
this out real
Yeah, go
quick
ahead and
too,
throw it out.
PTK. I'll throw this out there. Steele just hit me up in the DMs. He was listening to Xbox Era, and Special Nick tonight threw out that he's heard. He did say, obviously, take it with a large grain of salt. But he does his rumor mill, and he did hear that Final Fantasy VII Remake could be hitting Xbox and Game Pass this year. So that's the latest rumor for all the people waiting on that Final Fantasy Remake, that it could be happening this year.
That's
So
big.
That would be
A lot
yeah,
of
nice.
people.
yeah,
Yeah. Okay,
yeah.
that's huge. So
Especially
keep an eye
Game
on
Pass.
Exactly. Final Fantasy. I mean, if it first of all,
Yeah,
just coming to Xbox is a
yeah,
big deal, but
yep,
coming to Game Pass and Xbox day one, that's awesome.
yep,
That would be a
yep,
big, big, big deal. So we're
yep,
gonna keep an eye out on that. So shout out to
yep,
Nick for
for
that
sure.
information. Shout out to Steel, my brother,
Yeah.
your
Mm-hmm.
brother. Pong.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out to Steel. I saw you in chat as well, brother. I didn't forget about you. So Shonsu Modded Ear actually threw us a quick question. Shout out to you, bro. Always in here doing the damn thing, doing the righteous work in the chat down there, cleaning everything up, making sure everything looks good for us. But he said, how do you want to see Xbox present games in the future? Should we have more shows or just concentrate on E3? This is a bit of a precarious topic because I think they've done a great job last couple of years, right? I think generally the last show was been the best show we've ever seen. Consider all things considered, as far as like the format in which we currently get the information in. Now,
Mm-hmm.
do I think they need to make like a huge alteration to how we're getting the information? No, that's just my opinion. I don't think we're ready for that. Now, maybe they do tweak the shows as they get acquisitions. They got to fit things in. You still got to see what they're doing with Bethesda. This is really the first year we're getting like this big Bethesda stuff. Like Starfield is big. Like I get Deathloop was big, but it's not Starfield. So like this is that first year we're gonna see how they're gonna integrate that with Xbox, like a big first party Bethesda title. How is Xbox gonna fit that into their show and how they're gonna present that? So I'm gonna leave this to my two brothers here and open floor here.
Well, I've talked about this a lot. Boom, actually, we talked about this on Boom Show. Shout out to Boom and
Shout out to
Xbox
Boom.
Factor. Yeah, absolutely. So here's the deal with me, and I've been saying it since last year. And I know Miles wrote a nice article on Windows Central just this past week, or it was last 2 weeks ago, about the same issue. And what I believe they need to do with as much content they have, as many studios as they have going in the future, I think they do need some smaller, regularly placed type Nintendo Direct type showcases. And I think the reason why is because the big show, you still have the big show. You can still do your E3 style. You still have the video game awards at the end of the year. Maybe you bring back XO, some point too. But I think getting people used to a regular type smaller show, a Nintendo Direct, especially coming into next year when we know that they're probably going to have consistent games from the beginning of the year till the end of the year. This year, obviously, is starting slow again. Stalker 2 getting delayed, all that kind of stuff. But I think starting 2023, they can really have their roadmap filled out from the beginning to the end of the year. So, with that being the case, you need to make sure that those games, from the big games to the small games, are getting the limelight that they deserve and making sure they're staying fresh in people's minds. Now, the big games obviously will always be fresh in people's minds, but people still like to see updates, state of plays, all those state of plays that they did where they showed off Horizon Forbidden West. That just ramped up the hype,
Yeah.
right? That's all it did. Not that it needed it, but it kept it fresh in people's minds, right? And you do that, and you do it on a regular basis, so people just kind of come to expect it. I think that would be a great thing. I think that they need to look at doing that again, just from the sheer volume of content they are going to have. We're talking, literally, look at it. They've got 40 plus projects in development right now without Activision Blizzard. 40 plus, and you can say they're going to be
It's
released between
insane.
no, and they're going to be released from 1 to 5. Let's just say 1 to 5 years. Maybe it's even 1 to 4, but let's just say 1 to 5 years, right? 40 games. That's 8 games a year at some point. And since we have a light year this year, obviously that means we get more games. There will be coming a time and point where we may have 5-6 straight months of a new game coming out from an Xbox first party. And then you throw Activision Blizzard in there. You're talking about there's going to be times and points where we might be getting 2 first party titles in the same month from an Xbox first party studio. So look, you just have to have a way to showcase all of that content, and waiting for one big show, it's just not going to be feasible. right now they could probably have their own E3 week if they really wanted to, right? So I think you got to
Almost.
space it out and just, like I said, upcoming E3 style for like the next, whatever, 12 to 18 months of games, whatever you want to showcase, the future games, have the smaller in between for the games that are coming out over the next few months or the next half year to make sure that people realize those are coming. Advertise Game Pass, what's coming into Game Pass, all good stuff. Just have those short shows, those smaller shows in between to make that point come across even better. That's where I'm at with it.
It's funny because, and I want to follow this. I'm gonna go ahead and give you the floor for us here in a second. So that's funny because this has always been something that's everybody split hairs with Xbox about, is how they present the games, like when they should do it, how they should do it. It doesn't seem to be an issue with Sony or Nintendo. Now I do agree as far as having, do I want to say state of play like events? Um, Maybe, yeah, I do think for their larger games, maybe do a standalone event, a highlight showcase kind of event. If that's what you're talking about, Pong, I assume that's what you mean.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's just a shorter show. I mean, even like the Nintendo Directs, they get the small games in there and the third party stuff, get some highlights, but they kind
Yeah,
of let you know, hey, this is coming out this year. This is coming out very soon, and they get that back in people's minds again. That's what I'm talking about. It
got
doesn't
it.
have to be like an E3 like long show. I'm just talking about
Yeah,
30 minutes,
Yeah.
just highlighting the stuff that's really close to coming out. That's what I
got it.
want to see.
Okay, well, I'm gonna throw this over to you first. Go ahead,
Yeah.
brother.
No, I agree on like a 30 minutes should be like the max. It should be maybe 45 if we're going all out and it's like you got 5 games within the next 2 or 3 months type of thing. But 30 minutes is all you really need. Highlight whatever the big game is going to be, whether it's a first party or even a third party deal come into Game Pass. Um, put that as like the highlight. Maybe give that a full 10 minutes of gameplay, maybe some breakdowns of some of the systems or new techniques in the game if it's like a sequel or something like that. You can also throw in any DLC that they may have coming to any of their existing, ongoing titles, like what we saw with like Wasteland 3, like what we've seen with State of Decay 2, and like what we'll probably continue to see with like Forza Horizon 5. So those could be like quick little tidbits of,
Yeah.
the
You're
new
on something there,
vehicles coming.
Fuzz. Yeah, I like that. Like upcoming Halo season, what's coming up
Mhm.
next, like shortly, get people hyped for that. Yeah, once they get that all planned
Yeah,
and leveled out.
that's
Yeah.
all they really need a couple of times out of the year. Like the E3 equivalent show sometime between June and July, or if all parties can agree. Um, if Xbox wants to hold off until all parties agree to kind of have like a week of shows with other publishers and things like that, that's fine. Otherwise, just stick to kind of like their normal routine of when they would normally hold like their E3 or their presentation around the beginning of June. Um, and then have it where if you want to use it as a full hour or so, where it's like, okay, we'll start off with Xbox Studios, and then in the middle put ZeniMax Studio stuff, and then finish it off with Activision after the deal is done, or whatever the next big release would be, have that at the tail end. Well, not necessarily the next big release. The next big release probably should be somewhere either early or in the mid, but whatever is the next title to unveil, whether it comes from ZeniMax or Xbox Studios, save that for like the end of the show, kind of like that one more thing like Apple likes to do type of deal. But
Yeah,
two shows sometime uh, at the beginning of spring or just before spring, and then something around fall. The E3 in the middle of the year, and that's really all you need. But like I said, those other two satellite shows in spring and fall, make those 30 minutes. DLC stuff, upcoming season stuff, your big first party stuff that you're going to have within like the next 2 months or so, and or any big third party deals that you're going to have from Game Pass, and then
yeah,
just keep the talking to a minimum. Don't have escape rooms. Don't have. I mean, I understand devs want to uh, talk about their game for like maybe some of the smaller games that may come into Game Pass or ID at Xbox stuff, but try to have that where almost like the way they did E3 with Paris, have the game stuff, game after game after game, short and concise, and then have like, like the follow-up videos be for like the dev interviews and things like that. Because people that are fans of those games or fans of those studios are going to want to hear and see more. But it helps separate those that are going to, badmouth the time in between each game shown, like, oh, why did we have to see the dev talking about their cat or about fishing or cooking? It's like, to try to keep things moving, I would say it's probably best to have those as like a separate thing. Make those like the deeper dives
Yeah.
after the 30-minute, special type of deal. But that's all I got on those.
No, that makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense. And the more focused shows, a lot of people have been asking for it. Now, once again, this question becomes even harder to answer as they acquire more, right? Doesn't that question become more difficult?
Yeah.
Would you guys assume, like, okay, what do we
Yeah.
do with all of this now that we have
Right.
it, right? Like, how do we separate the toys? Where do we put them? How do we fit all of this in? That's going to be interesting to see too. Because go
I
ahead.
was just going to say one thing they could do is they now have, well, let's say the Activision Blizzard deal goes through, which we assume it will. They'll have 3 major cons, right? So they'll have BlizzCon, QuakeCon, and what's the other one that I'm missing?
Minecraft? Don't they have something for Minecraft?
Yeah, they got the
Minecon?
Minecraft, Minecon or whatever the heck it is. So they have 3 major cons now as well. Minecraft is kind of on its own because it's its own world, but just say the 2, BlizzCon and QuakeCon. Now you have those 2. If you're acquiring more, maybe you just expand those cons and use those for those specific, like they have been, but really expand them out a little bit and have those like really focus in on what you got working on, kind of cut down on the fluff that comes with those cons and just make it a showcase for those specific studios in those sections. And that kind of, you could put one at the beginning of the year, one at the end of the year, whatever else, and really have those kind of balance out as well so that your E3, you can focus on the Xbox Game Studio stuff specifically, but have those cons for the other ones outside of some of the big stuff like a Starfield or something like that.
Yeah.
But really have those cons kind of fill in the rest of the year as well, along with the smaller shows. Just a thought. Now that they have all that underneath their umbrella, it's going to be crazy.
That's a great
Yeah.
problem to have because
Yeah.
they have enough pieces to move around. That's
Right.
the key thing is that like we have enough to move around, so that like the quantity is not an issue. So that is going to be fun to see how they move it around. See
Yeah.
where they put it at. So I do like your idea though. Use the cons. You have those
Yeah.
events already. I mean, the
Right.
funny thing about those events is that they're already like culturally ingrained. Like those
Correct.
those events are just part of gaming in general. Like if you go there, you're like you're part of whatever that con is, whether it be BlizzCon. You're part of that whole environment. You're part of that culture, and like you're invested. Like you're
Yeah.
there. You know what I'm saying? You're not
Right.
going nowhere. You're not one of those people jumping in, jumping out. That's what you do. So you can expand that a little bit. Now I don't know how resistant some of the like purists are gonna be, but
Yeah, but if you're giving them everything they want, like at BlizzCon, you're announcing like StarCraft 3 coming back. Look, they're not going to care.
They're not going to care. Yeah, all you just need a black screen and a Sharpie and put Starfield.
Right.
That's it.
StarCraft. That's it. It's over.
StarCraft.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah. Shut it down. The place will go nuts, and it'll be all. So if Xbox is giving the fans what they want, the fans will be happy. I mean, it's just going to be crazy though, because like you said, this is just assuming they just stop with what they've got after Activision Blizzard, which we know is not happening. If they add a Japanese publisher on top of it, Jesus, what are you going to do? You literally are going to have an entire year of marketing that you are going to have a lot of different shows to showcase it, because there's no way you're going to be able to fit it even into an E3 presentation.
Yeah, you're not.
Yeah.
You're just not.
Nope.
And that's a great problem to have. One we've never ever experienced or even thought we would experience in gaming. So all these companies, Sony's getting to that point. They're getting to that point to where they're going to start to expand and have to do different things to look at their options as well. How do you fit Bungie in? How does that all work? So but let's go ahead and answer. I think UK Lad had a great question. Shout out to you, brother. If you are over the pond, appreciate you hanging out with us. He said, do you think we will see Age of Empires on Xbox? I think this may have been a little birdie.
Yeah.
I don't know, Pong or Fuzz.
Yeah.
One of you guys got some tea on that. I don't know.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we had tea on that. I think both me and Fuzz have heard the same tea, but Jez has been talking about it. I asked it specifically to Jez and Rand a month ago. I think it was last month. while they were live on their show, and they both answered emphatically yes. And they said first half of this year. Jez was just on Boxenberger's show, World of Gaming, his new weekly podcast. Jez just was on there this week and really dropped some nice tidbits on that show. It was really fantastic to hear. That's normal stuff that he keeps for Windows Central or for Xbox too, but he dropped it for Boxenberger. So shout out to him for getting that. But he said on that show that he is 90% sure that we see Age of Empires this year on console. So
Buzz, I don't know if you want to follow that up. I mean, you may want to corroborate.
Well, I got the same information from Pong, and when he had brought up that he had asked Jess on I guess it was an Xbox 2 and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I just kind of tried to look at the calendar of how they were setting up games, and I kind of speculate that it will drop in May just because of the way timing is. Like, I know we have Tunic coming up. Shredders is not too far off from now. Tunic is next. Weird West is coming, but I think that's multi-plat, but I think it's coming to Game Pass.
Yep, it is.
April's kind of that question mark, so it could possibly be Age of Empires moved up to that, but I was thinking May before what do you call them got delayed. Oh crap! What is
Stalker?
Yeah, Stalker 2.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Once they moved out of April, it kind of left that hole for April. But I think Age of Empires hits in May because that gives it about that 6-month window, kind of like the way it went for PC for what do you call them? For Gears Tactics.
Gears Tactics.
Yeah. So hopefully similar turnaround time for mapping out controller inputs and things. At some point, I like Pong's idea of not necessarily pushing people to keyboard and mouse, but at least offering that option. So maybe it's available earlier, and just say controller not supported. But today you can use your mouse and keyboard if you should happen to have one.
Yeah.
So you can play the game on Xbox that way or something, or have it kind of like where, even though it's a PC Game Pass game, if you're an Ultimate member, maybe make it cloud accessible on your Xbox, so it's not like somebody goes and buys it. It's just like an add-on in the service type of thing at that point.
Yeah.
And then if you happen to have your keyboard and mouse, you can play it today as opposed to wait until controller supported type of thing.
I think we're getting to the point, Fuzzy. I think we're going to see a resurgence of RTSs and strategy games on console.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that the more people that do it and come up with good ways of using the controller to change that input, I think eventually we'll get to the point where there's kind of like it's not going to be standardized because every one of those games has different mechanics to them, so it can't be standardized. But I think people will start kind of using different formats that have already been previously used. We've got Crusader Kings coming next month. Crusader Kings 3 is a grand strategy game, and I watched some of their docs on how
I forgot you're like a big strategy, you're a huge strategy game fan. I forgot, man.
Yeah, it's the one thing I've been missing, obviously, on console. So it's always hard because we used to get them in 360 days, right? And then they went away, and we didn't get any last generation really besides Halo Wars 2, which was phenomenal, right? Yeah. Played over 200 online games against people in Halo Wars 2. Just awesome work that they did. But I think that Crusader Kings is going to open up a lot because that's a grand strategy. So we're talking about world domination type strategy. And they did a whole series on how they play tested it. They sat down with console players, really figured out what they liked, wound up changing their whole UI to support the console along with the controller and readjusted it. And that's not Crusader Kings is big on PC, but it's not a big team that's doing that work.
Yeah.
It's Paradox. They have experience doing it. They've done it with a lot of different strategy games.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's just not a big team, but they still got it done on a large scale. We're talking about relationships. We're talking about all this stuff that you have to monitor and keep track of, and they got it done for console. So I think once those types of games keep showing up, more and more of the easier games, and I say easier in quotes because it's never going to be easy to transfer over, but I think we're going to see more of it. We already see, World of Warcraft does have controller support now. So I think it's going to eventually happen. So I can't wait.
Yeah. So it's great.
Yeah.
These kind of announcements excite me the most. I think, like outside of the big stuff, right? Like the obvious stuff.
Yeah.
But I think these type of because the variety. I love hearing people like you, like real fans, Pong, get
Mhm.
excited about this kind of stuff. I think we were talking about like pinball games the other day,
Yeah.
right? I think me
Yeah.
and you
Yeah.
were,
My pinball
and like
FX. Yeah.
exactly, like it's just crazy. Like I love to hear people have like these passion games that they love that they don't talk about much, but they adore. Like
Mhm.
they'll
Yeah.
just play for this. So I'm the same way. I have a few games that are like that myself, but great to hear once again. Um, I have a quick question. I want to switch lanes here as far as the topic goes. I know we're taking them from chat, and shout out to everybody watching right now. Appreciate you guys. Hit the like button if you haven't already. Um, but this is kind of it just popped up in my head right now. I just saw it. I'm just kind of scrolling through some topics that I were looking over earlier, and I want to get into a little bit about. And as a fan of you being a fan of Battlefield, I want to get your opinion on this, Pong, about there. there
Oh,
you
God.
probably know where I'm going with this, so
Yes.
I'll just let you finish this. You go ahead with this, man. I don't.
You are we talking about EA? Are we talking about
Yeah,
their comments?
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I got my rant out this morning, and a little bit on PM and the PM, and Xbox Ultimate too. So the COO of Electronic Arts, EA, they had an investors call, and there was questions obviously concerning Battlefield and the problems with it. And her name is, I believe is it Lisa Mealy? I think is her name. And a lot of people got it wrong. She used to be in charge of the studios over at EA, but she was promoted in October of 2021 to COO. So we're talking about the chief operating officer of EA. So she answered these questions, and she had, and I'm going to paraphrase here, I don't have the quotes in front of me, but she stated the reasons that Battlefield did not do well. She obviously brought up the pandemic, which caused issues. She brought up the fact that DICE is still giving their devs problems, which is the Dice engine is still giving their devs problems, the Frostbite engine, I should say. And then she went on to say, well, Halo came out as a surprise launch, and it was so polished that Battlefield looked bad next to it. This is the COO of a company.
I
This is
mean,
a person who's probably
tell
making
me
$1
about
billion.
it.
Huh?
Let's tell me about it. I mean, let's really talk
Yeah.
about this for a little bit. What
Yeah.
the implications there, what that's really saying. Because I mean,
It's yes, it's placing blame on Halo for the failure of Battlefield's launch in the state that it's currently in, at approximately 3,000 concurrent users on Steam right now. I looked up the stats today. Uh, its peak today was like 3,400 players. The peak on Battlefield 5, okay, the peak on Battlefield 5 was over 24,000 people today.
wow,
Your brand new Battlefield that everybody was hyped for.
man, they are boosting that back
Yeah,
catalog for sure. They're boosting
yes,
it.
they
Yeah.
are. So she basically blamed Halo for a lot of the problems that Battlefield had. Halo just came out too good, and it was a surprise launch. Look, first of all, you knew the window that Halo was going to be in. We've been talking about it since last year, whether or not it was a good idea that Battlefield launches in the middle of a Call of Duty and Halo launch. We knew the time frame. Why did you not know the time frame? Are you honestly going to tell me you guys
Well,
didn't
we thought
know?
they had a shot,
Right,
considering
they
Todd
did
was
have a
fucking
shot.
limping.
Right,
Todd was
right.
limping.
But what else did we say? Right? So you're telling me, and she went on to say as well that internally the analytics showed that yes, the game was buggy, but it was within acceptable limits and they could work through it. Okay, look, again, if we as average everyday gamers can sit back and play armchair CEO on these shows, and we can forecast, and we did PTK, we did it on this show, did it on every other show I was on. I'm a Battlefield fan. I was hyped. I paid $120 for the Ultimate Edition. Look, out the gates, day one, I still enjoy the game. I think the game plays very well now after they fixed it up. Have a great time. Me and Steele and Mav have all jumped into it. Love it. Every time we get in there, we're laughing, having a great time. The bugs are at a minimum. But if we can all sit here as armchair CEOs, and last year, long before the launch, and say, look, Battlefield has a unique opportunity here. Call of Duty is on the downswing. Yes, it's still number one. It will be, but they are on a downswing hype wise. Less people talk about it. Nobody was happy it was going back to World War II. Right. And we said Battlefield's got an opportunity to come back and grab the mind share. All they have to do is stick the landing. That's all they have to do. Make sure that it doesn't come out like every other Battlefield game that we've played and loved and enjoyed.
Well, to
and
be fair,
and be buggy.
To be
right?
fair, sticking and landing. I mean, we say stick the landing. It would have to be a very precise landing. So not just like.
But
I just want to be fair
but
here.
Here's the problem, PTK. We okay, again, we'll never know what happened internally. There's no way we can know, but we've heard enough stories, right? We've heard enough stories about this that we probably can assume it's true. Enough people have talked about it. Those devs went to the upper management and said, this game needs another 3. It's been anywhere said from 3 to 6 months they asked for. Those upper management people turned around and said, you've got 3 weeks. They delayed the game for 3 weeks when the devs were asking for months. Right after, they just witnessed what happened to Cyberpunk. And on top of that, even worse, because EA came out after all the stories were written that they were blaming Halo for Battlefield, right? Then they came out the next day and said, oh, it was all taken out of context. This was a humbling internal reflection, is what they called it. You're telling me that Anthem did not give you a humbling internal reflection? You're telling me that
Wow.
that Anthem launch and what you did to those devs did not do that for you? That you turned around and let another one of your major franchises go through the same dang thing again when the devs were coming to you saying this game is not ready? Again, people are getting paid millions of dollars to make big time decisions. I'm not saying I could be the COO of EA, but I'm telling you what, I could sit back and forecast for some of these major IPs what's going to happen if you do that same thing over again. That does not take a rocket scientist. It does not take somebody who's had years of experience in the industry to see what is going to happen. And so when I say it needed to stick the landing, all it had to do was fulfill the promises that they made for the past 2 years on this game. That's all they had to do. They didn't even fulfill the basic promises. The game doesn't even have a scoreboard, PTK.
Yeah, listen, I know.
Look,
I mean, and it's crazy because they do this every year. They seem to Call of Duty limps in to the year. The last 2 to 3 years, Call of Duty, at least 2 out of the last 3 years, it's limped into the year. Nobody cared about it. Everybody's like, oh, Vanguard is trash. And somehow Battlefield finds a way to be worse.
Right?
The same year than Call of Duty that year. Like, no, I mean, Vanguard's okay, but no, it's not really. Like, everybody's looking forward to, still playing Warzone. That's really what's carrying Call of Duty at this point.
And everybody's left Battlefield and gone back to Call of Duty.
Going back to Call of Duty.
Yes, even though they hated on it and they said, hey, Battlefield's coming. It looks like they're going to do it this year. I can finally get away from COD. I saw people tweeting that, like a lot of people, not just one or two.
Oh, yeah.
Like, finally, I've got something and I don't want to play World War II anymore. Battlefield's going to give me my current kind of modern military shooter, and I can't wait. It's going to be back again. All those people back on Call of Duty again.
Yeah. And it's crazy. It's crazy. And once again, I'm going to do this anyway because I can. I'm going to give Halo a lot of praise here because as much as people talk about the transactions and the money and all this other stuff and, oh, well, it could be a bit better, on the pro side and on the, that game came out in these other games, the other 2 games, Call of Duty and Battlefield, are nowhere near to the quality level, that the presentation that 343 is able to put together in Halo Infinite, and I understand it wasn't a complete presentation. If you want to talk about the Forge mode and the co-op stuff, that's coming. But based on what you got a functional game, first of all. Yeah, the beta ran better than those games right now.
And what did they do to get that to that point, to get that polish? They gave 343 another year.
Yep. They made the hard decision because that wasn't easy. That wasn't easy. It was almost, a lot of people looked at them like they were tucking their tail, going back home, and that wasn't necessarily the case. And they came out and they really overshowed, like they really over. I was blown away from what I saw. They like overshot what I thought as far as my expectation. And so
Yeah.
kudos to 343. But go ahead, Fuss, because I'm curious to get your opinion on this.
um, uh, when is Vince Sampella going to be the CEO? I mean,
Oh
Just
God.
say in about 2 years, if things keep going the way they're
I,
going,
Is
it
he going to
won't
be
take him
king
long.
of EA, not just
yeah,
COO?
I think they need to crown him now because,
Yeah.
like, who would have thought? Hey, we know it's buggy, but hey, we'll be able to fix it before the holidays or after the holidays because that works, right? Gamers are not going to complain or put a petition together for refunds. No, they're not going to do that. They're going to sit there and patiently wait until February. I mean, May or whenever we get around to fixing this game. Eh, Pong is right. It's like it doesn't take a rocket science to figure out that you do something like this, it's going to come back to bite you, especially after they saw the negative feedback that Cyberpunk got. And Cyberpunk was only really an issue on the previous gen consoles. The next gen and PC were, I would say, fine for the most part. And then they did a couple of quick patches, and other than things that they didn't quite fine tune, like the police chase type stuff or the police spawning. Outside of that, that game was fine, but you saw all the hate that got. You saw all the refunds and things that people were posting about, and it dragged their stock down. They had to even go to court. They were being sued by their own, shareholders. And EA is going to do something like this. It just baffles me that, yeah, how do you not know this is going to happen? And great point, Anthem. Yeah, that was a game that a lot of people were excited, including myself.
Same here. I was huge. I was day one. I was
Yeah.
all in on Anthem. Yeah.
And the fact that they were talking about, well, Anthem 2.0 and we're going to fix this, and yeah, we waited like knuckleheads, I guess you could say. We waited,
Yeah,
and then
we
they
waited.
canceled
I
that. So
waited.
it's
Yeah.
like you can only burn your fans but so many times before they don't even bother work picking up your game anymore, type of thing. So to blame Halo is silly. If them taking that extra year to fix or polish the game or refine it so it's in a very playable state, yes, it's missing some features. That was already understood, and those were, roadmap to becoming later. They should have did the same thing. They should have said, especially like what Pong was saying, the team came to the executives. We need at least 3 to 6 months. You got 3 weeks. Yeah, somebody's not listening. Somebody over there at EA, it's like, I yeah, they whoever is in charge over there just needs to step down like tomorrow. Yeah, they've already put enough on Vince's plate. I think he just needs the corner office and build his team to replace the current level of executives there with his own people and go from there, type of thing. But man, how do you blame the other guy for your shortcomings that you self-inflicted wounds? Yeah, I don't know. That I don't want to ramble too much on it, but I just thought it
No,
was funny.
it's worth rambling because it's ridiculous in every way, shape, and form. Right? It is. It's utterly ridiculous. And again, I don't mean to harp on this Lisa Mealy, but she's the one that's quoted. She's the one that's answering the questions. She's COO of EA. She's been there
Mhm.
for 15 years. She worked with the other Battlefield teams with all the different problems that Battlefield 4 have. And again, to come out and say that the Frostbite engine is giving you problems for the game
Man, that
that
thing.
that's an internally developed engine that you've been
Yeah.
using now for a very long time. You specifically made it to run Battlefield. And
Mhm.
you're still telling me in 2022 that Frostbite is giving you a problem. Look, Frostbite can look absolutely gorgeous. It's a great engine when it can be used properly. But your
Mhm.
own devs are having a hard time with it still in 2022,
Cell
2021.
processor 2.0.
Maybe it's time to wave the white flag and say Frostbite ain't in it anymore, right?
Yeah,
Maybe it's time.
Just go to
Okay.
I
Unreal.
think
Go
that
to
time
Unreal
came and
Direct.
went when when they weren't going to use it for Jedi Fallen Order, and you saw how well that did.
Right.
Oh no, Vince said no. Vince put the
Vince
e-brake
said
on
no.
that. He said nope,
Yeah.
not doing that. He said if I'm going to come over here and help, we're not using that bum engine. Sorry.
Yeah.
We're not doing that. So we're
And
going straight to
they should have known from there, if one of your own teams is adamant about it and then the game comes out successful and not even anywhere near the dev issues that Dice has been having for years with that engine, it's time for it to go. It's time to throw it in the trash can, start over, or at least while you're rebuilding it or retooling it, license out some more Unreal Engine. Make a deal with Epic. Hey, for the next 3 years, can we get a bit of a discount because we're going to push like 5 or 6 games on this engine? Can we get like the group rate price or the I'm in the business price type of thing? And I'm pretty sure they could have worked something out. Sure, it would have eaten into some of their profits, but imagine all the profits they're losing with the way things are performing. You got 3,000 people playing the current game and 25,000 playing the game that people rejected when it came out.
Yeah.
Like, come on.
That started out completely broken. Like, oh my God, it's so crazy. It's just so crazy. Like I said, she's been through the wars and saw all of this happen previously and still can't avoid the same thing. If this was a small studio, if this was like a small publisher, right? And they didn't have the resources and they just had to get the game out. Okay. I can hear that. Techland had to push Dying Light 2 out despite its problems. They had to. It's not optimized. They didn't have the time. They finally had to get it out because they're unlimited resources. They're one bad game away from possibly having to close the doors. I understand those scenarios. We're talking about EA. And you push this thing out, you know full well, because the investors for that last quarter, or first quarter of this year, however you want to look at it, to make those numbers look better. You sacrifice this game just to make those numbers better. And then you turn around in your investor call, by the way, and when they ask about the sales numbers, you say, nah, that's not important. Battlefield's doing just fine, but Battlefield's not really important. Well, which is it? You forced this game out the door for those numbers, and now you're telling me you're not even going to talk about the sales numbers because it's not that important anyway. So, oh my God, give your team those 3 to 6 months. You guys have the money. Let the games come out when they're ready, please.
Basically, what I'm hearing is they pulled a hell of a bait and switch on a lot of people. That trailer was I believe out of all the games, even more so than Halo, I think it was the most viewed E3 trailer out of all the games. Battlefield. It was the game looked amazing. And once again, they fall on their face. Literally. I do not understand what it is about that game, what it is about Dice. They cannot get it together over there. And like I said, I'm an OG Dice fan. Bad Company 2, Battlefield 3, Battlefield 2. So it's sad to see because this is something that you were super excited for, Pong. I remember you being really, really excited about this being finally the time to step back into where Battlefield should be. And to hear Battlefield is not getting that at all, not at all.
And you remember, PTK, I said, I'm afraid if they screw this up, I will be the only person playing with a bunch of bots. Guess what? It's close to coming.
You did say that. Shout out to Mav too. So you right, Mav. You said even the reveal trailer was an event in of itself. It really was. It was. I still go and watch reactions of that trailer. That's how exciting it was.
Yeah.
So it was really, really, really good. So we're gonna take a few more questions here before we wrap up the show. Shout out to everybody watching live, man. Everybody hanging out with us tonight. If you got a couple more questions, we're gonna take. Mav, you want to throw anything fun to us? Shout out to the Hellboy, Psychonauts. Thank you guys for watching. Hit the like button if you haven't already.
Oh, I see Mav caved and went and got King of the Fighters.
I saw that. A lot of people. Shout out to K Mega. I actually just checked my phone and Mega put up a really, really cool clip of that game. So that seems to be going really well, man. Big fighter resurgence.
Yeah.
Animations on that are just fantastic. And of course, Fuzzy can talk to it. I've only watched the videos, but I was watching. Mega was putting up clips last night too, and I commented underneath how great the animation looks. Like King of the Fighters is one of those forgotten fighters. Like fighters overall, like King of the Fighters. I mean, it's number 15. It's been around forever, but it was kind of like one of those lost ones that unless you were a super fan, like you just kind of when you name your top fighters, you always forget about it being there. But man, did they do a fantastic job. That animation is gorgeous. I absolutely love how they did it. It just looks great.
dude, it just every time I see these fighters getting these like resurgence and getting these new coats of paints and looking all, it just gets me so excited for the possibility of Killer Instinct, right?
Yeah.
So um hopefully something comes of that. Um we'll see. We'll see. Mav shot you a question there, Fuzz. I don't know if you saw that.
Okay, how about this question? Last Street Fighters, Big Fall. Street Fighter is rumored.
No, who's your main on King of the
Oh, he said
Fighters?
who's your main? Yeah,
Oh,
your
my
main.
main. Oh God, I'm not good with the names right now. I mean, Terry's like an easy one to start off with, but I want to say uh, it's the one girl that does like the frost stuff because she has like long range and short range attacks that are pretty much hard to defend against. I forget her name. I think it's like uh, Leah or something like that. Then there's oh man, I need to go back to that screen. Where is here we go.
He said he knew it too. So it looks like he predicted. Mav predicted. He said you main the Jiggly girl. So
No, no,
No, that's
no.
mine.
There is definitely some of
That's
that in
my.
there as
She's my
well.
favorite one. That's not
oh
mine.
yeah, that's Pong. So yeah,
Yeah,
you got it mixed up. You got it mixed up.
yeah. They purposely do that so you're distracted when you're fighting her, so it's like an instant loss. No, but there's just so many good characters that are like long range and short range. But for me, I'm gonna say, let's see if I can get the thing to the character screen here. Hurry up, let's go, let's go. I love how next gen only takes like 5 or 6 seconds. Here we go. All right. No, that's not the screen. Oh, come on. There we go.
Fuzzy Live. Love it.
Right?
All right. So let's see. Right now, my three favorite as far as like for fire damage are going to be I guess it's Yashiro. Not was it Nanakasi, uh, Kyo Kazanagi, and K with the apostrophe at the end. Those are going to be probably some of the better ones that do a lot of damage. Another one is Irori Yagami, but where's the Frost Girl? Kula Diamond. That's the one where if you want long range damage, short range damage, she's probably one of the easiest characters to figure out how to either freeze your enemy or hit them with a snowman or hit them with an ice ball or be able to get up to them quick and stuff like that. Um, but yeah, Maya is probably I would say most people's favorite. Just like I was joking with him in the DMs, it's like, yeah, move physics on this game is kind of unreal on this thing, but yeah, it's so much fun just in general for like a fighting game. It looks like what you would expect a current day arcade fighter to look like. It's up there. It's quick,
Yeah.
responsive. It's
Chris.
easy to figure out combos. Like they have a few shortcuts as far as combos now, so it's not like like it's welcoming to new to fighting game players as well as like veterans that have all of the power moves pretty much memorized by heart type of thing.
Or butt
But
mashers like me.
yeah, but I'm kind of I'm like a half step up from a button masher, but they definitely made it a lot more welcoming as far as like doing the combos, doing the grips or the grapples, and like if you're picking one of the wrestler characters, it's a lot easier to throw your opponent or put them into like a pile driver type of deal. But yeah, this game right now, it takes me back to arcade fighters in general, but just the visuals as far as the character design, the graphics, the colors, the scenery. The scenery is I would say it's on par with like Street Fighter. It's not like eye popping as far as like the cars or the people in the background and things, but it's definitely fit the scenery that for the fights and things like that. So it feels like what you would see like an old
Yeah.
SNK arcade cabinet
Yeah.
would be type of deal.
I mean,
Just
you
modern
gotta
day.
have a little bit of that nostalgia, that touch of nostalgia in the game as well. So I mean, you don't need everything to be So
Yeah.
that adds a good contrast to the the upgrade and the upgraded animations, the better looking characters,
Hmm.
the better color, all of that stuff that you get in the forefront. But let's answer this last question for Mav, and then we gonna go ahead and wrap up the show. So shout out to Mav for jumping in, bro. Appreciate you. FSP representing. We got a member or two here actually, to be honest with you. But so he said, how about this question? Last gen fighters had a big fall off. Street Fighter is rumored to be revealed on Monday. Is this the year of the fighters revival? We actually talked about this a little bit, man. We touched on this a little bit. So I don't know who wants to go first. Maybe I guess I'll. You want to go?
No, I'll say I think it is like pretty much we haven't heard of us much about Street Fighter in a while. With hopefully everything being unveiling on Monday, I think this will be like the head to head. Like Street Fighter is going to have all of its original fans come back. Hopefully, it's multi-plat this go around. I know Sony helped out last time, but Capcom is in a better place now, so I don't think they need the financial help like they did before from Sony. But if this thing is multi-plat, Street Fighter is probably going to be as big as it's ever been. But if not, then I think King of Fighters will bring a lot more people into the fold, and a lot more people will start asking, "Hey, when are we getting the Killer Instinct? When's the next Mortal Kombat? When's the next Capcom versus Marvel or something along those lines type of deal?" But yeah, I think this is at least for the next 2 to 3 years. This is going to be kind of that renaissance of fighting genre games. So looking forward
Yeah,
to it.
I agree. I agree as well. I'm right in line with Fuzz on that one too. I think that we've already seen that resurgence start. With the obviously that building hype of Killer Instinct, and people want another Killer Instinct. So we'll see what they do with that. Obviously, we've heard about the issues and finding a dev and then hearing about rumors about who may or may not be working on the actual game. That's going to be interesting to see. But like you said, this is big for SNK. Big name, OG in the fighting game. So glad to see them back where they need to be. And then obviously the looming possible Street Fighter. We're not confirmed, right? Or unless we're digging into the Street Fighter thing. Are we dug in on that or?
I
Yeah.
I think it's like 90-10. Like
Are you,
Right.
10%
I
that
mean,
it could be
Pong doesn't do like in and out. Pong is like
all in.
so. No, he's not like percentages. Pong doesn't really do those. So are you digging in on that, Pong?
Yeah, I'm digging in on that. I think
Okay,
it's Street
so
Fighter.
all right, Chad. So we dug in on the Street Fighter thing. You guys know where we're at, so we'll put a seal on that. But so pending that happening, we'll see where that's at. But like you said, there's a lot, and I'll get to you, Pong, here because I know you didn't get a chance to really
Yeah,
really
no
really
worries.
go over it a little bit. But yeah. So I agree in full. I'm right in line with Fuzz that we're definitely seeing a resurgence. That's going to continue for the next few years at the very least. I mean, there's going to be big games come out. You got Starfield. That's going to be a big distraction, right? Like there's going to be other games come out. God of War, big distraction. Breath of the Wild 2, big distraction. So there's going to be things in between, but I can see a huge stretch of like very consistently good to great fighters. So go ahead, Pong.
Yeah, we now got a term for Starfield too. I don't know if you saw that, but it's called NASA Punk. That's the style they're going
Oh,
for. Yeah, that's what
oh,
they call it internally, NASA Punk. So love that, by the way. It's pretty cool. So anyways, but yes, as far as fighters goes, I think we definitely see a resurgence in the fighters. I hope we do. I'd love to see like Guilty Gear, Blaz Blue, those types of games from Arc System Works starting to show up multi-plat. However, there was rumors that Sony is going to be picking up Arc System Works. That started last year, so there was some smoke there. But I definitely think we're going to see a resurgence of fighters. I think they've been gone for too long. I think a lot of people are rediscovering their love for them. And I think it opens up the opportunity to get some new ones that maybe come out of the blue that we didn't, maybe just brand new IP that we had never seen before. Enter the scene and kind of maybe do some different mechanics. Back in the day, we had a lot of fighters because fighting games were so popular. We had games like Eternal Champions from Sega that came out of nowhere.
oh,
I
bro.
bro, I loved
Oh,
that
I
game.
love
That
that
was
game so much.
yeah, it wasn't oh look, it's
Big buff barbarians and
Yeah, remember you could do the special moves. They had the
Yeah.
like the 1940s police officer.
Yep.
They had so many.
Yeah.
You could cause the drive-by. There was just so many cool things in that game. Like it's not a technical like tournament style fighter. It was just a fun fighter, right? You go back
Yeah.
to like the clay fighters, right? The clay
Oh
fighter was
wow.
awesome. Remember
Wow.
that?
Clay Fighter. I
Yeah.
remember that.
Yeah. So there's all these great stylized type of fighting games that we got that weren't necessarily the hardcore, but they were, they still had their moments, but at the same time, they were just fun. Like you could pull off some crazy, crazy moves. Primal Rage, for God's sakes. Primal Rage
Wow.
was amazing.
Yeah. The dinosaurs.
Yeah, the dinosaurs. Yeah, exactly. Just stuff like that. I'd love to see that come back again. So I'm hoping for sure. And we got a lot of fighting fans in this community. Obviously, shout out to K Mega. He's been on that
He's a
train
big,
forever.
big.
So,
Shout out to Mega.
yeah,
Yeah, for sure.
absolutely. So no, want to see it happen 100%.
Awesome. And I think we're gonna go ahead and wrap up the show on that note, man. Once again, a phenomenal, fire, amazing show for you guys here. Another Saturday in the books, man. Homegrown today. We didn't have no guests. It's the first time in weeks we haven't had guests. We're actually gonna probably have. I'm gonna just let the cat out the bag. We'll probably have 2 guests next week. So look forward to that. I will be revealing who those guests are here very shortly. Follow me on Twitter. I'll get into my stuff. Don't worry about me. I'll get into my stuff at the end. But anyway, so I got to get to my compatriots here. I do want to say, everybody, appreciate the support. You guys are always coming out, hanging out. Chat's always live. A lot of new people in here. I saw it today. This is actually really fun. A lot of new people. So if you enjoyed the show today, come back, hang with us next week. Bring people with you. Tell them about us. Let them know. This is what we do every single weekend. If you want to come talk games, have fun, this is what we do. Come hang out with us. Non-judgmental place, real fun place to be. But let me get to my compatriots here. So Pong, we're gonna start with you, bro. Always a good time, bro. You all over the place every week, but I know you'll get into that right now. Let everybody know where they can find you.
Wait.
Oh,
well, he's not muted.
Yeah, he's not muted. Go ahead, Fuzz. I don't know. Maybe his mic is having an issue. Go ahead.
Am I back again? Really?
Yeah, you're back now.
Yeah, you're
okay.
back.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
Love me some PC. Anyways, look, this was a great show. Love being here. Obviously, I love this. It's kind of nice not to have a guest here and kind of have this open discussion format with you, brothers. Really love doing that. That's kind of fun. So this was a great night. Obviously, again, my favorite way to end Saturday nights is here. So this is fantastic. Chat was absolutely amazing. Great to see everybody come on by and support us each and every week. And like PTK said, the new faces as well. Welcome. And please do spread the word about this show. Love to start getting some bigger audiences in here. PTK deserves it. We love what we do here, and this is just a great time. So drop on in again, please, but nothing but respect for the chat and all the support you give us. Love you all. Look, Pong Soul, Xbox, Twitter. You can find me there. Follow me. I'll follow you back. Otherwise, coming up Tuesday, Xbox Factor Podcast. Double Barrel Gaming is the channel. Mr. Boomstick is the man. As we all know and love. And we get Mav whenever he's available, Archimedes whenever he's available, Boxenberger, as most people know him now. I still know him as Archie, but whatever. Boxenberger's there, Mr. Joanna Dark. Now we have VJ, good old Viewpoint Gaming VJ, the man with so much information and one of the biggest vocabularies in the business is now a part of that panel. So drop on by and check us out. All good things green there on Xbox Factor Podcast, 12 p.m. Eastern, 11 o'clock Central Time. Thursdays, PM in the PM, Pong and Mav in the PM. That's right, 2-man show. Drop on in. Thursday nights are great. We deep dive 1, 2, maybe 3 topics. Normally it's just me and Mav, but we have had some guests. We just had we had Colt a couple weeks ago. We had Mr. Boomstick on, but normally it's just me and Mav. So drop on in. We have just a freaking blast talking about, like I said, a couple things in the industry and really deep diving. Mav and I can talk for a long time too. So drop in there, 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 o'clock Central Time. That's on Fun Speculations channel. Friday nights back on Fun Speculations channel for Xbox Ultimate and the Great 8, depending on how many are actually there. But 3-Bit actually showed up this week, which was surprising. I told him he was a guest at this point because he's been gone for months, but he did show back up again. So it was awesome to have him on there. Mav usually gets guests too. But otherwise, no matter what, we're having a great time on Xbox Ultimate, 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 o'clock Central Time, Friday nights, Saturday mornings, living split screen. Split screen is all one word. That's myself and my brother from another, Steel Rain. We are on mission 1K. We are trying to get to 1K subscribers. We are trying to build a community of people who really just honestly enjoy what they hear from us and want to be there. We're not trying to buy subscribers or anything like that. But please drop on in 3+ hours every Saturday morning. We're going to start your day right. And if you're in the UK and it's already afternoon, well, guess what? We're going to keep your day going because we're going to bring the live, raw, and uncut energy, like Steele says, to everything that we do. He and I have a lot of passion for this industry, and we talk about it all, non-console eccentric. So check us out, 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 o'clock Central Time, 3 p.m. UK time, Saturday mornings, living split screen, and then I'll be back here next week. But this is the golden age of gaming. You're hearing more and more people use that phrase. But you got one of the originals right here that has been using it for a very long time since I jumped in this community because it's true. The golden age of gaming is upon us. Go out there and enjoy it. There's a game for everybody right now, and there's going to be more games for everybody as we go forward. So please go play what you love what you play. And I'm going to talk to you all real soon.
Appreciate you, Pong. Always love having you here, bro. If you guys don't know, once again, the easiest thing to do, if you didn't catch all of that, is just go follow Pong on Twitter, man. You'll be able to find everything, what's going on with him, all the shows he's a part of, all the links there. But appreciate you, Pong, every single week. I call it a battery of the podcast, brings the energy every week, man. Consistent, super consistent, man. So thank you so much, man. Shout out to you, bro, for always hanging out with us. So, Fuzz, throw this over to you, man. Let everybody know where they can find you, brother.
Well, awesome show, guys. Glad to be here with you too. Glad we had so many in the chat, and man, it was just awesome, kind of just relaxing, talking about gaming together and stuff like that. But man, for anybody that wants to hear my ramblings on now King of Fighters or anything Forza or Insurgency related, just follow me on Twitter at fuzzy_Belvedere. You can also find me on Tidbits with Mav on Mondays, doing our weekly game releases on Friday mornings with Breakfast with Boom on Mr. Boomstick or Double Barrel Gaming's channel at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. And then on Saturdays with Mav and Key on FSP at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. And then back here next week with you guys on the Shop Podcast at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Man, it's so much fun doing this.
All right, appreciate you, man. Thank you so much for hanging out with us, man, every single week, wrapping things up here, man. Appreciate you always bringing energy as well, Fuzz. Thank you. Love you here on the show, man. Like a brother, as usual. And last but not least here, man, PTK Blam across the board. Hit me up on Xbox Live, on Twitter. If you want to know what's going on with the show, guests, poll of the week, all of that good stuff, follow me on Twitter. Appreciate you guys here. Come hit me up on Xbox Live. You do want to play some games, always online playing something. Once again, join us next week. We probably will have 2 guests next week, which will be revealed Monday. So be look out for that post Monday as soon as I can give confirmation. So appreciate you guys hanging out. See you guys next week. Peace out.